Hey, how's it going? I'm Rory from Rate My Funeral. That was Rate, by the way, so welcome along. I'm back with another exciting tech review for you. So Revopoint have been in touch and they have sent me their Revopoint MINI, which is a blue laser hand scanner. I did a video on the Pop 2 a little while back.
This is good to go and ready and all very exciting.
And this was a good value for money handheld 3D scanner. It allowed you to scan objects of a medium size, get them into your PC, and you could use them for either 3D animation or modeling, or you could even use them for 3D printing, whatever you wanted to do. It gave a bit of versatility and allowed you to do it. Now the Mini is slightly different in the fact that it uses blue laser to give much more accurate results, but it's designed specifically for smaller objects. So just briefly, if you were to put the two side by side, the Pop is the one that you can take out and about and go and scan objects and so on, and that will give you a 3D model that will be workable. Then you've got the Mini. This is for if you want to machine a part or you want to really accurately capture a small piece so that you can put it maybe into a CAD software to replicate it or use it as a guide or whatever, then that's where the Mini comes in. Without further ado, I have it here. They sent me the scanner itself, as well as a potable turntable. Okay, so that's a balls up right at the start, isn't it? Let's be honest. Potable? It's actually on the box of the thing that gets shipped out right on the front. And it says potable. I can appreciate a typo somewhere in a manual, but on the front of the box is kind of unforgivable. So anyway, let's grab this, let's get this thing out of the box. I thought I'd show you the box actually, because you might want to see it. It's quite simple, it's quite straightforward. It's a picture of the item and its name, although it's spelled correctly. Okay, so in the box we've got an assortment of cables. We've got the old little dot stickers to help you capture things, maybe put them on your table and so on. We have a little bust. Now this is interesting. So, this is the bust that comes with the Mini. This is the bust that comes with the Pop 2. It kind of gives you an idea of where they're thinking in terms of the scale. Okay, and also in here we've got a little tripod holder, and we've got the gizmo itself. I'll bring that over so you can see it as well. I've only got one camera set up today, so I'm bringing everything over to you over here. This is the device itself. You can see there, it's quite a straightforward design. It's quite smart. It feels heavy. It feels robust. It feels decent quality. The tripod is pretty cool. So we have an adjustable top bit. It has legs that come out so that it can stand on its own free will, and it's extendable telescopically. Right, so in case you wanted a comparison, side by side, there they are. So that is the difference between this is the Pop 2 and this is the Mini. As you can see, the Pop 2 is a bit bigger, it's a bit dusty, it's certainly dustier than this one, but the Pop 2 doesn't feel as heavy and as kind of quality. It feels all right, it's fine, it feels like fairly weighty, but this feels a little bit more. So yeah, so just in terms of feel and initial look, this looks pretty cool. So as already mentioned, it comes with this portable turntable, or potable, as the box tells you, which you assemble out of pieces. Right, I'll give you a hint. If you end up like that, you will not get that in there. What you have to do is assemble the two halves ahead and then connect both halves at the same time, which I'm making look more difficult than it is. And that is how you assemble that. But then if you look even closer, you might see that that's supposed to it's supposed to be a triangle. So yeah, I've got that wrong as well. There we go. So now it is a triangle. Okay, so our little turntable, it's pretty straightforward. You got some basic options here. You can adjust the speed of the turntable, put the power into it there through a USB, and then you've got off counterclockwise and counterclockwise. That doesn't sound right. You've got off clockwise or counterclockwise. That makes more sense. Cable's got the special USB. I can't remember the letter. There's a certain letter this is. It's the special USB that's got like a few extra little bits on it. It's very technical, this review. Very, very technical. Then on the other end, I've chosen the USB because I'm just going to stick it into the PC here. I'm going to install the software on the PC, and we're going to try and scan our little head. Okay, you join me over here on the computer, and I am at the Revopoint website, so I'm going to go ahead and download the software. You need to go to support, and then we can choose the Mini, and then we can see download, and here we are in the download center. So we've got Revo Scan and we've got Revo Studio. Studio is for sort of post-processing and editing the model once you've scanned it. RevoScan is the actual software used to scan in the first place. So I'm running on PC. As you can see, you've got Mac, Android, and iOS as well. So be interested to try this on a phone. Perhaps I will do that in another video. But for now, I'm just going to download this onto the PC and install the software. Just going through the installer here. I'm guessing this is because I put it on before, so I'm going to let it do its thing. And I'm going to go next, next, yeah, do it. And we'll just let that install, and then I'll see you in the software. Okay, launching the software. Now this is a really useful bit of information. Here is the range in which they can do. So the Pop can do from 30 mil up to 3 meters, the Pop 2, 20 mil up to 2.5 meters, and the Mini does 10 millimeters up to 500 millimeters. And as it mentions there, they're each capable of scanning smaller or larger objects, but then you kind of got to know what you're doing in terms of how well you do it. Let's close that down. Right, I've got it connected already. What you can see here is over here. So I have my scanner just to the side here pointing at this. Now I can angle this down a little bit, and now he's showing up on the computer over there. But I feel like I want this to be able to be a bit more looking up at it. So to give myself a little bit more flexibility, I've just placed it on here so that I can now raise up and above it, but also I can come down so that I'm relatively level with it. So I feel like that's what I need to do. So this is going, so we're going to set him rotating. So now we'll switch over to the screen there, and you can see that I've got the range is considered as excellent. Oh no, it's now good. So we get just a little bit closer. There we go. So let's set that going then. So everything's pretty much set to automatic at the moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit scan. And this is going to ask me where I want to put it. So I'm just going to leave everything as default here and just see what happens. Okay. Now, one thing is he's turning a little bit slowly. So I'm just going to speed up the turning. Right. We haven't actually started yet. So the timer, that's going to be at what point it starts. So let's just go ahead and hit play and see what it does. Okay, so it's currently scanning it. It seems like it's doing all right. It's generating a 3D model there. I don't like the way, every now and then, it kind of jumps a little bit. It's as if it's lost its tracking for a second, and I don't like the way it does that. But that's going through okay. So while that's doing that, I'm going to attempt this. This may not work, but I'm just going to try and raise this up a little. Do you know what? In fact, before I go, I'm going to pause. I'm going to raise you up a little. And then I'm going to angle it down, something like that, and then I'm going to say continue and see if it picks it up where it was. It did. Woo-hoo-hoo! So it's picked it up where it was. So it just means that it's getting a little bit more detail from the top as well. So I'm going to let that do one more full revolution. Okay, I'm going to hit pause again. I'm going to do the risky thing. I'm going to come down as low as I can get away with and try and look up at him and hit play. It matched it. It's back in. That's good. So the reason I've done this is just to try and make sure that we get underneath that chin. Okay, so I think that that's now pretty good. That should have enough detail. You know, we've caught a lot of frames. That's probably well overkill for this model. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit stop, and I'm going to do complete. Okay, so that is now saying fusing complete. That took a little while. So I'm now going to hit mesh. And what this will do is turn basically the point cloud that it's just generated into, into real geometry. Okay. And initial impression is it looks pretty impressive. Although we do have a little hole on the top. I thought I would have got that. Oh, that's a bit annoying. Okay, so now I'm going to export this as an STL file. And let's open it up in Cinema 4D. Okay, so here I am in Cinema 4D. Here is my STL file that I've just created, and I'm just going to drag that in and say open. and we're going to have a look. So the first thing I want to do is fix the orientation of this. So I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to go into a new project and paste it. Right, so that's sitting all the way down there. So now on my bust mesh, I'm going to go to convert, no, I'm going to go to axis, center axis 2, that puts that there. And then I'm just going to zero out all of these to put it into the middle. Size, yep, no, that's fine like that. We'll rotate it. Obviously this isn't a Cinema 4D tutorial, so I'm not going to be covering too much detail as to what I'm doing just here. I'm just literally curious as to how it looks if we now bring that into our 3D software. And let's also turn on our lines so we can see there is a ton of data in there. But to be honest, this is, you know, it's pretty good. It's a pretty decent mesh. That has created a pretty decent mesh. It's a little bit mucky in some places, but overall, that's not bad. Now, the thing I would like to try here is Cinema 4D's new remesh feature. Okay, so we select our bust, we hold this one, we hold down Alt and release on remesh, and then inside of remesh, I'm going to put the mesh density down to, I'm going to say 5%. And let's let it have a think about that and see what it comes up with. Okay, so that didn't actually take too long. It was barely even a minute. But what we can see here is that's done a really good job. That has made that now a very clean mesh. Yet we've got the hole in the top, which we would need to fix. But overall, wow, that's really very impressive how that creates such a good mesh of that. Right, so that is, yeah, a really good result, to be honest. Really, really good result. So what I would now like to just quickly do is take the original STL and I'm going to open that in Prusa Slicer. Now, in case you're not familiar, this is Prusa Slicer. So when I do my 3D printing stuff, this is the software that I use to slice 3D models and, you know, get them ready to print. And as we can see, it looks like it's pretty good. So I'm just going to do a cut. I'm just going to cut it at the bottom here just to make it so that the bottom's completely flat. And I'm going to say, don't keep the lower part. There we go. So he's now sitting there on the floor. And you know what? Other than that hole in the top, which is such a shame, I'm just going to hit slice. That looks really good. So I think it looks like it mostly has fixed it. But now if I was to 3D print this, you would see it sort of print like that. Yeah, the nose would be a problem because there's some overhanging edges. We'd need some support for the nose really. But what you can see here is, gosh darn it, that's impressive. We've literally just scanned this model in and now that is ready for 3D printing. And it took like minutes to do. Wow, I could literally export this G-code into my printer and apparently an hour and 25 minutes later I will have a 3D printed version of this little bust. So, initial impressions are really impressive. The mesh that gives is pretty damn good. This, to be honest though, is an absolutely perfect example. It's a matte white color. There's nothing shiny on it. There's nothing transparent or translucent on it. That is your absolute perfect example of something you want to scan. So really, what I'd like to do now is just find something else and see how it gets on with it. So I need to find an everyday object and see what it does. So let's begin. So had a little hunt around and I thought this would be interesting. Now this is one of those plug-in smelly things. And I thought, well, let's say I wanted to sort of reconstruct the shape of this somehow. And it's a bit of an obscure shape, would be quite tricky. Not impossible, but quite tricky to model. So let's see if this would assist in any way at all. If I can get it stop rocking, we'll give that a go. Right, stop rocking. I've made it worse. I bet. Okay, so let's see what this does. So we'll go to here. Yeah, it looks like the settings are okay. So let's go ahead and scan. And we'll say start. And let's see what it does. So it seems to be picking it up okay at the moment. It is jittering a little bit, which always worries me on this because it does have a tendency to lose tracking. It quite easily loses its place and it will like create a second object. So one thing that I've found is quite useful to do with this is get a base. So That's done a complete circle, which is good. So that means I can now do pause, and just looking at it, it looks like it's picked it up okay, so that's now fine. So that's kind of locked in, because you see what we've got here is an undo button. So if I try again and have this continue from maybe a slightly different angle to get a bit more detail, if it doesn't get the track first time, I can pause again and undo. So let's try. No, it hasn't found it yet. I'm hoping that when it gets around to the side it will. There it goes. Right. Okay, so it's found its track. It's struggling a little bit, but to be fair, it seems to be all right at the moment. So one thing you can see, it's not picking up these pins. It's because they're shiny. Shiny objects really do not scan very well. So what you've got there is a couple of options. You can either use a spray or you can put powder over it to try and get it so that you can scan it. It's not ideal, but this is a limitation of the technology. I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm going to press pause again. Now I'm just going to look around. I think I want to try and get a little bit more detail up on the top section, so I'm going to move this in, come in quite close on the top there, and hit play again. Right, so that's a great example. It's gone horribly wrong. So I'm going to hit pause again. You can see it's now messed it up. So I'm going to undo until, oh hang on, no. I only wanted to undo one. I was looking at it from the wrong side. So let's redo. Right, that's, yes, all that nonsense out the back there. Right, okay, so that's where we were. So yeah, we're missing the info at the back here still as well. So let's just try hit and play again and see if it does find it. There we go. It's found it this time. So it's getting a bit more information for the top, which is good. And that's fine. I'm going to pause it again there. And I'm just going to speed things up a little bit and come around here. And I'm going to see if I can get that to kick back in again this side. Yep, that caught it. Okay, so good. So that's just getting that little bit more info for the very top there. Okay, and then I'm going to pause once more. Right, now my idea is that I want to get right down the bottom here because I am missing a load of data off the back. So I want to make sure that I'm getting as much of that down there as possible. So I'll just turn this back here. Right, and let's see if we can get it to track on again. Yep, it's done it. Right, okay, good. Oh, I don't know about this one. I'm going to pause it once this has done this bit and have a look. It might be okay. It's hard to tell here. Oh, there it goes. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? So let's undo that one. Yeah, definitely that went a bit crazy there. So we'll undo until we get rid of all of that last lot because it's just rubbish. Now I've not tried this. I'm curious, will this pick that up on the tracking if I actually physically reposition it all? Here we go. Okay. No. It's completely missed. It's made a second plug. Oh dear. Okay, so this looks like this could be pretty decent enough for exporting. So we're going to go ahead and press stop and we're going to tell it to fuse it. Now this will take a minute, so I will skip this for you. Okay, so it says fusing completed, so that looks fairly good. So let's go ahead and set it to make a mesh. Okay, so there's our mesh. And yeah, that's looking not too bad. There's a few little gaps. It would definitely need a bit of processing. Let's go ahead and export it, and I'm going to open that up in Cinema and do the same as I did before. Right, okay. Well, I mean, to be fair, if we go in and look, it's pretty good. It's a bit lumpy and bumpy, but it's pretty good. It gives you all the shapes and the contours and so on. There's even a bit of detail there in the branding, so that's pretty good. So what I'll now do is go display shader with lines. Yeah, and there we can see that's just that's the actual mesh. Again, it's not too bad. It's relatively tidy. So let's now put that through a remesh. Let's set it to 10%. Okay, so that is with 10% remesh, and other than definitely some areas that are in need of cleanup, it's actually not bad. It's definitely not perfect, but it's all right, you know. If I just needed this rather complex shape, then this would be really good as a guide, you know, to wrap something around and recreate maybe in Fusion 360 or something like that. It's good, it's good. So there we go. That is the Revopoint MINI. Overall, it's really clever bit of kit. It definitely struggles with some objects. I think there's a lot of restrictions. Anything that's too shiny needs to be sort of matted out somehow. Anything that's reflective is just problematic. Anything that's translucent or transparent, no chance, you know. So it's definitely got use cases. Like I say, so say you wanted to create a holder for one of these and you wanted that shape so it clipped in perfectly. You could scan that exactly as I did, put it into Fusion 360 and then trace the contours to kind of create a holder that's the exact size. You know, that's where the use cases I see are really beneficial for it. So overall, yeah, cool bit of kit. I will have to try it on the phone at some point and see what that's like, but not today, maybe a future video. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. So thank you once again to Revopoint for sending me this one to have a play with. Really enjoyed it, good fun. I'm gonna keep looking for things that I wanna try and scan, and I think I'm gonna utilize this in some of my production techniques to try and make my life that little bit easier. And of course, check out the description for the details on where you can pick one of these up if you want to go and have a look. Again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget, hit that thumbs up button. Also, hit and subscribe, plus the little bell will keep you up to date on any new videos I do and eventually will put out. All right, thanks very much. Bye for now.